Everybody gonna be arrested. Overly, they ready. Bring it from the back with my ass. In the world, getting real messy. Everybody gonna be arrested.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Fire involving uranium breaks out at the Tennessee National Security Complex. This is very, very sus. We're going to talk about it right now. It says that breaking news, fire involving uranium breaks out at a Tennessee National Security Complex where America's first atom bomb was developed, forcing evacuation of over 200 staffers. It said that the fire involving uranium broke out at a national security complex. The National Nuclear Security Administration said that the emergency response responded to the blaze on Wednesday morning at the Y-12 National Security Complex in Oak Ridge. All of their 200 employees were accounted for, with the buildings next to the site being evacuated as a precaution. It said that NNSA spokesperson confirmed that the fire started at 9:15 a.m. at the federal facility, and the blaze was limited to the site itself. They added that emergency services responded to the event, and the site activated the Y-12 Emergency Response Organization, and we've been in close contact with local and state officials. All sorts of odd events going on at all times. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's Marfoogle News. We'll be right back right after this with everything else that's happening. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Everybody gonna be arrested. Overly, they ready. Bring it from the back with my ass. In the world, getting real messy.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a lot to go over in a short amount of time. So remember, you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. When you go there, it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. Just look for Follow the Money. It's lining up fast. Once you go there, you will see that you'll have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today. On top of that, at the very bottom, there is a yellow bar called Overflow. That is all the stuff that could not fit into a normal show, or it is the stuff that people do not stop arguing about once you start mentioning. So again, with 4,000 to 5,000 people in the chat, it's just it turns into a mess. So there is a lot of really good stuff down here. Make sure to go check that out. People utilize this every day, and other creators encouraged use it for references. A lot of creators that do the news, they don't actually give you links or any of the backups, so you have to, we provide a really, really awesome reference for you, so you can do that. We want to help the creators around us, not push them down. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, fam. I'm doing just fine. And Roboto.
Yep, you're our Mr. Roboto. Either way, it will be gone by the time we come back. In fact, well, actually, Dex, I'll switch you over here for a second, and then let's talk about this first piece here, because this is probably one of the most important here. I wonder what's going to come out of this. I wonder what theories are kind of bubbling up right now, and what is happening with this whole ordeal with this is where the atom bomb was made, and something weird happened. Over the last 5 years, I've covered a lot of weird events, like the explosion at the Russian lab that housed all of the dangerous stuff. Of course, the cat, dog, and cat in Atlanta that had the one of the top guys that, in fact, if he was still alive, he would have actually responded to what happened in 2019, and he would have been one of their biggest, I guess, proponents against what they were about to push out to everyone. And he went missing to much controversy. If you guys don't know about that, then somebody will let you know in the chat. But let's see here. Dex, are you there, and is it better now?
Yes, I'm here. And this fire, it's a big deal, but it's one of those things that I really don't think we're going to get much information out of. They're going to tell us what they need to tell us as a public to make sure that we're fine. If there's, if it gets worse or something bigger happens, they'll tell us so that they can, evacuate people. But they're never going to give us the inside story of what actually has happened, how it happened, what transpired. This is so top secret. This is such a high security location. I mean, this is where they, enrich, nuclear material. This is where they have built the big ones from the past. There's a lot that goes on here in the complex there in Tennessee. It's I would never expect them to give us more than just the basic information we're going to need to know.
Well, think about
Oak Ridge is pretty important location.
Think about the other information we're going to go over today, especially regarding Israel and how they're talking about that something possibly leaked and said that they were going to possibly try to take out or attack the nuclear facilities in Iran to the store, right? So I think it's crazy that this is the same, one or a place that would do all sorts of top secret things for nukes, and it all of a sudden has this fire. Is this a tit for tat that we'll never know even happened? Or is this a pure accident? Again, they wouldn't tell us any of it because it's, but because of where it is. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, and we have to layer that in with what happened in Ohio, the other derailments that have happened. There's certain spills. There was a fire in Kissimmee. That was a plastics plant. There's a lot of these environmental type things that are happening, and this one would be one of the worst, at a nuclear facility. So yeah, all of this happening at once is either this kind of stuff is just getting a lot of spotlight because it's all sort of related, and everything coming off of Ohio is getting everybody's attention, or it's kind of strange that all this is starting to happen and we're seeing a big uptick in it.
Yeah, and it's not something you want to see an uptick in ever. And it says that around 1 p.m., officials announced that the rest of the complex had returned to business as usual, but did not confirm if the fire was out. So they were just like, oh, yeah. Oh, no, don't worry about the flames. The copy machine is, you just have to walk right around the flames, go right past the burning staff member there, and then right there, the copy machine. Yeah, and it's kind of fidgety sometimes. You have to hit it in the side. I think I went too far with that. And then Biden falls while boarding Air Force One. You would think after the huge deal that they made out of the this almost looks fake. To be honest, this picture looks photoshopped, but apparently it is real. It's just from a really bad quality camera. You would think after and who knows, we might find out that they go, oh yeah, this reporter said it was, that it ends up being fake. Apparently stumbled again. You would think after this, after the first one, that he would look at stairs like somebody, a tightrope walker would look at a tightrope, with a lot of focus. But apparently he tripped and stumbled down it again. Now, most people go, oh, who cares? Oh, nobody's perfect. I get that. But obviously there's been questions about health. There were questions with health with all previous presidents. If they are not physically capable to walk upstairs, can they run the country? If they can't walk, can they run a country? But again, does this matter? Not much, but it definitely is going to get press. So it's not like we could ignore that he did it again. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. To be honest, it's not like many people here believe he is truly running anything anyways, nor is any president. because of the people, right above them that are probably telling them what to do. Go ahead, Dex.
I'm not a fan, but you think he would be holding that rail, like you said. He's had this happen before. He was on his way up. He took his hands off the rail, and then that's when he stumbled, unfortunately. And for those that say if you can't walk upstairs, you can't be the president, I would argue, even though I don't particularly care for this current administration, that Roosevelt was in a wheelchair and he was fine. So let's not, I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying the people out there, don't just use that as a label, because it doesn't really work.
Yep. Yeah. Roosevelt did everything from a wheelchair, and he did a perfectly good job. So, but people are worried about his health, as far as if he is going to have some issues. I think people should be more worried about his brain and what is going on there. If he can remember things, that would be more important than even if he had, all of a sudden lost both legs. Could he still run the country? Yes. All right. And then Venice canals run dry as lingering weather system mires tides and Alps snow shortage fuels concern for Italy's summer. So, by the way, we've covered some of the stories and some of the documentaries that have come out about how they believe that the Venice canals will eventually, that Venice will be underwater, or Venice will be dried up, depending on which study they're going off of. But one thing I do want to point out is right now I believe, are we in it, or are we about to get it again? In the last couple months, we have had 3 times, I believe 3 times, where the polar vortex up above had this polar vortex event where all of the air from the Arctic came down, and the airstream basically broke apart, and all of that air came down. We had an unprecedented, I would say it's unprecedented event, where 48 of the states got into negative temperatures. I've never seen that in my life. Have you? If you are, say, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, have you ever seen that where every state got into the freeze? I mean, even California, and even in the hot states, parts of those states got into either freezing temperatures or negative temperatures. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, we had negative 55 degrees wind chills in places that are normally, 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It was absolutely nuts. So whatever is happening here, many people debate on why it's happening, but there is some really, really strange events going on, regardless of who's doing it, who's pushing buttons, or if it's natural or whatever. Venice has long been known for its perennial flooding, but now it's facing the opposite problem. Because that's funny. All of the places said there'll be too much water. A long stretch of atypically low tides have left the ancient city with low water and dry canals, making many of its famous waterways unnavigable for the iconic gondolas and other boats that ply its waterways. It says, Venice's water woes are being blamed on a high-pressure weather system that has lingered for weeks over Western Europe. They come as environmental groups warn that the Alps have received less than half of their normal snowfall this winter, prompting concern Italy could face another summer of dry rivers. So look at this. Okay, so this is on one of my things, like I would love, before I died, to go to Venice and experience it like whatever it is normally, with the gondolas and people there. I mean, obviously, most of us have seen it in the movies, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. I just hope that whatever's happening and whoever's happening and whatever, that I, at some point, will be able to get to see this thing before something happens. The coolest part about this, and this is just a personal opinion, is look at the architecture here. Look at the place in itself. If you've been there, I'm sure you feel probably pretty lucky to have been there at all. A lot of people don't ever even travel out of the state they were born in. This place is absolutely gorgeous. It's pretty sad to see pictures like this. But what do you think is going on here? Have you rode a gondola? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And then, Dex, do you think that it's just so crazy because we keep hearing that they're going to be flooded and that it will be underwater soon, and now I guess
exactly, yeah, the sea level. I mean, this is a big deal in the sense that they don't have enough water now, not just there, but it's all the snowpack. But yeah, if this keeps going this way, I can't imagine it will, just because eventually they're supposed to be underwater, or at least have sea levels high enough that they're flowing in a little. So I think this is obviously a a short-ish term issue. I don't know if it'll last for years or what, but it's not a good sign for their current water consumption as they're heading into the summer season. I know it's not summer yet, but that's next. So, and by the way, if you need to ride a gondola, go to Vegas, the Venetian. Done that.
I did go.
Never been to Rome though.
No, I did go to Vegas. I didn't. I think I walked through the Venetian, but yeah, they have like a mini version of everything there, right? I went to the New York, and then I went to the what do you call it? The Stratosphere, the Gold Nugget, and a few other places. The Eiffel Tower. That was cool. Obviously, though, it's not the real thing, and it's definitely. In fact, half of my only trip to Las Vegas was ruined. I've told you guys this. I got stuck in the airport for like a day. Straight up in the airport, and our flight, something happened where only my uncle was able to fly, and he had to fly because he had to work the next morning, and we got stuck there, and it was just all of those machines, the slot machines. That airport is the worst airport in the world to sleep in. It was like ding, 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 ding. But to add to that, I don't think I've ever told people this. I don't know if anyone rode that roller coaster at the top of the Stratosphere. I think they removed it because of so many complaints, but it was a roller coaster that was on the top of the Stratosphere, and it was the least fun thing ever. It's going so fast, and it's such a small circle that you're just constantly whipping your head like Night at the Roxbury, and you can't even, it's all a blur, so you can't even see the view. It gave me severe like whiplash, and for the rest of the trip, I was like, young too, and my neck was just messed up. I was walking around like I was, Chris Kattan or something. It was horrible. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, did you do the one that drops off? At least that one was a little more, less of a
No, and I think that
head banging.
No,
there's two of them up there. I know the one you're talking about. It goes round. That one's crazy, but the one that falls off is kind of nuts too.
I don't think that was there before. There was one. Maybe it was, but I didn't do it, or maybe I did. I think that wasn't there yet, and they had, because they've changed them a couple times. I don't think they have the roller coaster at the top anymore, but do they? Let me know in the chat. Anyways, let's get back into Buttigieg. I hope I'm saying that right. I've said it wrong all week. Buttigieg announces track inspections in the wake of Ohio train derailment. So it's kind of crazy, because the first week and a half they didn't cover it at all, and now there is nonstop coverage. But are they still covering half of the bad stuff? Dex, do you want to talk about this and what happened what happened with this whole thing?
Well, this is, the story is still relevant, and obviously relevant to the folks that live there, and anyone that's in the path of any potential damage that's coming from there. It seems a little bit of late lip service to let's go check the rails. I think that's, should be part of their standard procedure. I guess they need, Mayor Petey to come out and tell them to do it. But it's very frustrating, I'm sure, for the people there. It's interesting though, speaking of rails, I think they just came out today or recently and said that that Amtrak derailment a while back, I think it was last year sometime, it was because a rail was bent. So obviously, inspecting rails is important. That bent rail was slowly working its way over, especially with freight trains on it, and then when Amtrak came along, it fell off. So hurting a lot of people, and I think killing some people too. I can't remember that story, but that was last year. I think 4 people were perished in it. This is, going to be a top issue right now. There's so many people that are affected in this area. There's so many people downriver that are going to be affected. There's a lot of people that are, very suspect of what's going on and don't know, if they can trust what's being said to them, and rightfully so. I mean, it's typical for large corporations and government agencies to, sugarcoat or minimize the information that comes out, such as to minimize the reputation or damage or postpone the effects of or having to deal with any of the hotter issues that may come from these types of things. So I'm going to be, I'm very skeptical that we're again going to get a straight answer on this one. And I, feel for the people that live closest to it, and no telling what's going to happen to those that are even around it, either downwind or downstream.
Yeah, that was another thing, is the communities here were talking about the air and how things were being blown away, and only YouTube communities were talking about this. Some of my peers were talking about the actual wind effect of this, but mainstream really left it alone. There were a couple articles about it, but I mean, mainly it was all, like the BP Earthwatches and folks like him. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, and this is also bringing attention, or at least eyeballs, to the trains, and everybody is starting to pay attention, and that'll happen too. So expect to see a lot more in social media, maybe some in the mainstream. Like they certainly covered a handful of the other derailments, but there was nothing seriously, no major spills like this. But you're going to see a lot more of it just because it's now brought a greater awareness and people are going to be paying attention to it. Such as there was a lady who reported a whole bunch of cars that were stranded out in the middle of a field, but it's a switch line where they actually store cars. And so there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at things going, is this, suspect, or is this normal? Because people don't really know what normal is, because nobody pays attention to trains unless you're sitting at the railroad crossing waiting to get through and you're late for your appointment.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of like after 2001, I worked downtown Seattle, and I will tell you, especially, when anybody outside, when a plane went over, it was like you could tell right after 2001, for a couple years, people would respond. I mean, I would be walking down the street on like 3rd or 4th, a plane would go really low over, and multiple people would go, hey, is that supposed to be that low? And people would point it out to strangers. Like, nobody in Seattle really talks to people. They call it the Seattle freeze. But after that, I remember people saying like, hey, is that supposed to be that low? And it's because nobody really, realized before, planes always flew really low over Seattle. But after that, it's like everybody was watching every plane. Did you guys watch the planes after 2001? For like a couple years even? I would love to hear your opinion, because I did, and every time there was a low plane, I think a lot of us thought in our brain like, I guess it was especially because we were in a downtown area, so if you see one over here and it's lined up, how they land at SeaTac, they literally looked like they were going to come in, and if it was a 2001 event, it looked like they would be lined up for it. I don't think it would be as much of a thing if you were out in the country, but in the urban areas, it was freaky. But a lot of people noticed, whereas before, nobody ever paid attention to that. And then thank you. Ray the Way says, wouldn't be surprised if President B gives Zelensky Air Force 2. At least give him a beast, right? Bill Corbett says, has anyone thought about, seems China wants Taiwan and Japan. The laser in Hawaii, maybe they want that too. Thanks, Marf and Dex and Mods. I would assume if you were to break up the planet, and if they did have some sort of agreement with Russia and some of the bigger countries, the thing is, you would think, they would just want everything. Probably not. As a country, you wouldn't want to manage the entire world. You'd probably just want the chunks you want, and then let other places have it. It's kind of like the Man in the High Castle, how they, in that show, they broke up, or in the books, they broke up Japan and what was it? Yeah, and Germany. Germany and Japan broke up the United States into the Japanese Pacific states and the Germany, whatever zone or whatever. I think of it like that, is if it really did go down, but USA and the United States would not be a thing. I don't even think there would be a neutral zone. Let's see here. This isn't a coincidence at all. Think about it. 100+ food exploding. People attacking substations, trains derailing. Trucks with no chemical haz markings flipping over and spewing chemicals. Now this. Right away, again, I think there have been so many events that it's really hard for the coincidence argument. And then Carol McLean, thank you so much for the support. I'll triple dare you. All-seeing eye in the background. Oh, so that was on the last show. And by the way, that was a response to the picture of President B speaking in UKR. And I did not notice that until you said that, but I forgot to call that out. So, Blue Boy, good catch. There was an all-seeing eye in the background of the picture of President B when he did that surprise visit to UKR a couple days ago. Let's see here. We are at war. Fact, says James Talley. I mean, if you just take straight up words from some of our military, the Space Force, multiple, some of the highest folks up in the same position as basic, as almost as high as Milley in the Space Force, they have said that the commander, the Space Force commander, and the second one, the general, they have all said that we are already at war in space. And that's that's a huge deal, but nobody really cared. Let's see here. Able-bodied, what's going on? CJ Blaze, Lisa R. Hall, thank you. Let's see here. Kathy D. Let's see. Bam Bam, thank you for being here. Odin and Creations. Apophis says the rich play all like a fiddle. JF 291 and 1. Yeah, that 2001 changed my life. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that event. I would have never gotten into any of this stuff if somebody didn't hand me a random burnt disc of a documentary about 2001 grassroots campaign on the streets of Seattle, which a lot of people don't give that guy credit, or AJ credit, for that. I think he woke up a lot of people. And then this is one of the things that we really have to question, but at the same time, is if you do, the thing is people take mainstream media at face value all the time. If it goes with their confirmation bias, they're like, oh yeah, that's totally happening. But then if it's not with their confirmation bias, they will say, oh, it's a distraction. We don't know what to think about this, but what we do know is this is a major flashpoint, and this would matter to the entire world, because this would involve Is and Iran. It says that Benjamin Netanyahu preparing, they say, for an attack on nuclear installations in Iran. Dex, they heard my opinion over on Marfoogle News. Do you want to go over and talk about some of the points that you had on this?
So, aside from the fact that there's a potential another conflict or hot zone in the world, and it's between the two I countries over there, I'm going to set that aside because we know that. This is just more evidence towards that. The thing that I found mildly interesting in this is that this was a leaked report, and it is stated that it was only given to the U.S. and to France. So then I question who leaked it. Did the U.S. leak it, or did France leak it? My gut says it's France, but that I have no evidence of that. And why leak it? What's the point? And then the other thing that came out of this is that they even said if no one else is willing to help them, they're going to do it alone. That's part of the plan. Is like if no one wants to get on their side, they're still going to go forward. So that's kind of interesting as well, because it's obviously a very strong position of theirs. So who leaked it? Why'd they leak it? And then now that it's out there, they're owning it. They're not showing any signs of being upset about it being leaked. I'm sure they are, because it sounds like this was secret and not something they wanted public just yet. Or maybe they leaked it. Maybe it is their own plan to leak it. I don't know. Maybe it's part of their strategy. But I tend to look at that part of it as well. So, but they're going to go alone. If warning them, they're going to act alone if the international community will not provide support. They basically are telling, in their opinion, that any developing nation that's trying to develop nukes has never been stopped unless they were stopped with force. So that's their position. That's why they feel like they have to go in and use force instead of airplanes full of cash, because that obviously doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And in their case, it would probably be can't, or I guess it would be in their case, this whole thing would go extremely bad, especially if the Iran side really does have everything that they say they have. Dex, you know that Iran has been putting out all of those pictures and videos of that underground base that they have. It seems like from what Iran has put out that they are actually preparing for something like this. Wouldn't you agree? Like, as far as the underground bases that can launch half of this crap and all of their missiles, and they can even launch jets from underground.
Absolutely, they've been preparing. They've been doing this for decades. Their primary target for the longest time has been to take out is. They don't think they belong there. They don't think they should be, part of the Middle East. So they want to. They have basically put them front and center at their bullseye, so to speak. So, yeah, they've been developing this. They've had their nuclear facilities hit numerous times in probably what you would think of as a covert operations. There may have been a couple times when some missiles were launched in. I cannot recall that off the top of my head, but I know over the years they have been hit numerous times. So they tend to go underground. They tend to move as much of their stuff underground because they know they have to, and they have the capability, I guess, to do it. And yeah, that picture we showed had a runway for the plane that basically exited out the side of a cave. It was pretty ominous.
So Rob Max makes a good point. Says they say they have been building them, and I'm assuming you're saying building nukes for 50 years. There are signs and there are things that do say that they have finally made the progression that they have, and that comes from outside of our country as well. As far as maybe even if they don't, they do have the ability, like they have shown with these underground bases. It takes years, it takes decades to prepare for something like this. Many people believe the conflict we're about to go through right now has been planned for decades and decades and decades and 50. Well, think about this. They say they've been doing that for 50 years. Think about World War II. World War II was an extension of World War I, and it was decades later. That's the thing. Like, it takes years to put this stuff together, and it was a direct result of some of the things that were left over from World War I. I don't know if you could say that this one would be stuff left over. Well, I mean, I guess you could. With Russia, they're basically talking about how they want they want things to go back to how their ancestors had it. Very eerie speech as far as what Putin said there. But you're right. They've said that for a long time. But I guess everybody is gonna write them off and say that. But I think everybody should just be open to the possibility it happens, and if it does, that would be a worldwide flashpoint. There's so many of them going at the same time. It's kind of like you're doing Russian roulette here. No pun intended. Dex, go ahead.
Well, speaking of Russians, I think now is the time that you would see the potential advancements of the technology in Iran from Vlad because of the dire need for armament from their country to the UKR event. So I think there's probably been some information trading going on, if not technology trading going on, in order to get some of that stuff. And now would be the time to leverage that, and it would probably now be the time that they being Vlad would be like, yeah, we can give. We wouldn't do it 5 years ago, but we'll do it now. The world's different, and the West is more evil today than they were 2 years ago. So we'll allow that to happen. So I suspect, I have no proof of that, but I suspect that now is probably more of a prime opportunity for them to gain the capabilities. And then here's the other thing: if they had it, unlike NK got it and then started flaunting it, not just launching, but they were doing tests, test runs, and they would test explosions underground. If Iran got that, I don't know if they would actually tell anybody. That's the other thing. They could already have it and be sitting on it. And that would be part of their element of surprise, because you would expect that if they think they got to the point of doing it, the next step would be doing, tests, and we would see, those register on Richter scales and other things like that.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy that you look at Iran versus NK, and that NK, most people believe, NK is just a joke. They have the super EMP weapons. They have nukes. They said back in the day that they thought all of these nuke tests were failures, when in reality, we find out later through the EMP task force that they were actually super successes. They were trying to do low-yield nukes because they were trying to perfect their EMPs. If NK can do it, I bet you that with this new climate, if they're really cutting off Russia, there's especially if now Russia just dropped out of this latest treaty, if they completely separate, who is stopping Russia from giving them a nuke or giving them 10 nukes? They have the most in the world. I know that would be, it would violate this, violate that, but I don't. At what point do they stop caring? They're already feeling like they're at war with the world. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. More things that we have talked about here at the Fugel Fam has come true. And then Canada says it's thwarted recent air and maritime surveillance attempts by China. Really? Kind of funny, since it appears like we're not thwarting any of them. Is somebody turning a blind eye? And do you believe that Trudeau is, Mr. Patriot Man? Like, he's not letting it happen, but we are? This just seems weird to me. It says that Canada is aware of recent air and maritime surveillance attempts by China and has thwarted such efforts since last year. The Canadian Defense Ministry said on Wednesday, after a newspaper reported Chinese floating devices were found in the Arctic in autumn. The discovery of a suspected Chinese spy balloon, which flew over the United States and Canada before being taken down earlier this month, was hit already strained relations between Beijing and the West and has intensified discourse about North American security. The Globe and Mail newspaper reported on Tuesday that the Canadian Armed Forces, the CAF, spotted Chinese monitoring buoys in the Arctic last year as part of an effort to provide early detection of threats to Canada's security. The spokesperson for Canada's Defense Ministry declined to provide details, but said authorities were aware of Chinese surveillance attempts using dual-purpose technologies, which can have both commercial and military applications. The CAF, Canadian Armed Forces, are fully aware of recent efforts by China to conduct surveillance operations in Canadian airspace and maritime approaches, the spokesperson said, adding that the forces had stopped attempts to surveil Canadian territory since 2022. So just if you take this at face value and it's true, they are actively trying to surveil all of the Western countries. If you take it at face value, you could take it a million different ways. You could say, oh, well, they're compromised and they're allowing China to drill in their own country. It could be both. That's the thing. I mean, do most of us believe that, just take the United States government for one example, do you believe that there are two different sides in the government, not left and right, but say, most all of them are compromised in some way or fashion, but do you think some of them are compromised from this side of the fight between the rich and elite and powerful, and then this side? So I don't know if this is how it goes, but maybe one side is the petrol oil wants to, stop this whole world thing, and then the other is we want to go electric, lithium, digital tracking, this and that. I don't know. I would think that there would be some rich and elite that would not want to be digitally track this and that. But just say there's two different sides. Do you think that would be true in Canada as well? That there are people in the government that are trying to fight back and that don't like this stuff. And then there's others that are like, yeah, we'll sign a treaty so China can come in without even letting us know. They could bring 30,000 soldiers and train right on the border of the U.S. If they own property there because it protects their interest, right? That's a true thing. They have a treaty with them, so they don't even have to tell the local police, and they don't even have to tell the border security. They can come in with 30,000 troops on a private plane and not tell anybody. So do you think that this is in all of the Western countries that possibly there's parts that have been paid off or something, and that's why you see both sides of it? Go ahead, Dex.
I was going to say, I got you a picture of a Chinese surveillance buoy. If you want to see what that looks like, it's in Screener.
Oh yeah, and by the way, the mystery ball, the sphere, they said it was just a regular buoy, but I posted that. I thought I made some jokes on Twitter about it, but some folks were really freaked out about this morning, and it was pretty quick that they found out it was a regular buoy. But I did think about and we'll show you this surveillance thing here. Hold on. And then Dex, is it on? Is it Screener?
Yeah, Screener.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hold on. And let's see. Okay, so check this out. So what are we looking at? And this is big. Whoa, this is huge. Is that a door for a human?
Yeah, and solar panels on top.
But it looks like it's being towed, right? So this is just a floating object with a base? Is this a base? This is like a floating base. There's a door inside, so I'm assuming there's like it's like a mobile lighthouse or something, but without the tower, right? This is supposedly a buoy. Wow. So what are they saying this is? This is for surveillance, and this is what they're catching?
Yeah, back in autumn, Canada is saying they picked these up in the Arctic.
Picked them up? Were there people inside? Like, what the heck is this?
I don't know if they mean picked them up as in they confiscated them as much as they found them, and I don't know how they disposed of them, or if they just let them pass through.
What a wild looking thing. I mean, it looks like a little cabin in the woods, only bright yellow and floating.
And they did say they retrieved them. So yeah, they retrieved them, but they haven't said, they haven't admitted what the retrieved buoys were being used for surveillance, but that's the speculation.
Sorry about that, guys. Can anybody read Chinese? Does anybody know what that says? If there's a translation of what it says, obviously there's like some serial numbers on that. I guess I'm pretty solid on. I believe that. I guess I'm just sticking to my opinions on this. I believe China is a big part of this. I think that almost all of the stuff we're seeing is because there's been intervention by this country, and they want to be number one, and it's a big part of it. And them and the people that they associate with, the very richest and most elite, it's like they've decided they're going to have a different kind of planet. They're going to have somebody else, and they're picking somebody else for the world leader, and then they're going to dump the United States in the process. But for them, nothing will change. Their rules won't change. Their livelihoods won't change. It will just be the people. And the people of the world will go into this like ultra system of being tracked, traced, and monitored and herded like cattle. But I know that's a controversial view. That is just crazy looking. Thank you, Michelle K. Conflict start safe. 2/23/22. That's tomorrow. By the way, we are now 2 days away from the anniversary of this whole thing. This is why a lot of us are keeping our heads on a swivel. I hope nothing happens. I hope it's just like a regular, news day and that nothing goes down. But I'd highly recommend making sure to maybe give a family member an extra reminder. Say, hey, just so you know, we have looked into a lot of stuff, and it's responsible to have some extra food and water, and should definitely try to have some extra stuff around. All right, and then speaking of which, before we go on, it says that Taiwan could survive initial China invasion, military head says. We'll talk about this here in 2 seconds. I want to remind you guys, though, if you do want to get a great deal and protect yourself from an EMP, you can actually put one of these on all of your vehicles, your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, your four-wheelers, and, of course, they make EMP shields that will ground the signal from both EMPs and CME in less than 500 trillionths of a second. That includes your home. If you get a home version, get it wired in by an electrician, which is I believe the only one that you have to have a professional do, then it can protect within 250 feet of where it is wired in to everything plugged in. So all of your devices, basically you wire this in, all of the things that are plugged into your walls within 250 linear feet will be protected. That's pretty amazing considering, you don't know when anything like this is going to happen, and it's not like you can just live your life with all of your devices in Faraday cages or put your entire house in a Faraday cage. I don't know. Maybe if you're Pauly Shore, you could live in a biodome, but otherwise, though, this is a really, really, really great device to have if you are planning on bugging out or bugging in. If you're planning on bugging in, if you want to get home from work, how do you do that if your car doesn't run? There's also devices for generators, solar and gas. The only solar generator you can get an EMP shield for, though, would be the Flex 1500, which is the Energy. And then, of course, gas-powered generators you can wire this in on. And all of the other items are super easy to do yourself. The only one that's needs a professional, I believe, is the house one. But otherwise, you can put one of these in your car in less than 15 minutes. And it will protect your vehicle and keep it running after all three phases of an EMP or even a Carrington level event from the sun. So it's an incredible thing. You'll get $50 off per device when you go through marfooglenews.com/EMP, and you'll help us. We are up against a hill. We, of course, have been held back since probably 2 or 3 years ago when our Discord got taken down. So if you do want to help us on our uphill battle, make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. And then you also get something awesome out of it, and you could possibly save lives with it. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. And then Taiwan could survive initial China invasion, military head says. I bet they could probably survive, but will it be great? Dex, do you want to talk about why they say they could survive, and what are they actually talking about? What would be the quality of life at that point?
Well, there's a clarifier in here. It's an if they are well prepared. So I think the main message, I'm sure whoever put this message out, the chief of Taiwan's military, talking to a local magazine, they probably didn't like that headline or the way it came across. Because then that sort of can make all of the allies go, oh, well, they're fine. They don't need our help. But in reality, what they're really saying is if they're prepared, they feel like they have the number of forces. They feel like they have the technical capability should they get prepared for it. And I guess prepared is a broad term. It's probably both in training and in equipment. So I think really what this says is, hey, if we can get the support of others to give us the defensive weaponry we need, and we can be well prepared, then we can withstand that. So I think that's probably the message they're trying to get across here. And it starts to make me think more about Zelensky and how, he came across like, well, we need this, we need that. Now, they're definitely not a country that's begging for all of our funding and begging for all of our equipment, but at the same time, they also understand that they can only get what they're allowed to buy. They can only buy what they have money for, and certain technology we don't necessarily give to or sell to just anybody. So, and I think that's probably what we're going to start to see in the coming months and this year, is what type of tech they're going to need from a military perspective, and are we going to be selling it to them, and then what kind of um, kerfuffle does that create between the U.S. and China's relations? Because that will go sour quick, I'm sure.
Every time you say kerfuffle, people point it out. It's such a great word, kerfuffle.
It sounds good too.
It's a sexy word, kerfuffle. What is this on their helmet? Is that for night vision? I'm assuming that's for night vision or cameras or whatever else. In the front of the helmet, but what is this thing on the side? Anybody in the military? What would this side thing on? Or is that just a structural protection? Or I guess, is that so things can slide in or attachments can slide into this? I would assume, right? I don't know if you see where I'm pointing. The woman on the left, the very, very left, there is a kind of an L-shaped bracket on the side of the helmet. Oh, cool. So let's see here. For mounting optics, rails, flashlight. Okay, yeah. So basically it's to put all different kinds of attachments. M rails. Okay, is that what they're called? A pick rail for mounting accessories. It holds your beer can. Picatinny, Super Troopers, arc rails. Nice. Pick Weaver. We have a lot of military, so I knew that question would be answered really quick. Those are on all helmets. Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of different styles of helmets with different militaries. The ones on the front, I would assume, yeah. All right, and then U.S. Navy can't keep up with China's PLA in shipbuilding, Service Chief says. It says that China's Navy has significant advantages over its U.S. rival, including a bigger fleet and greater shipbuilding capacity, as Beijing seeks to project its power across the oceans, the head of the United States Navy said on Tuesday. Speaking at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Navy Secretary Carlos del Toro said that China, quote, consistently attempts to violate the maritime sovereignty and economic well-being of other nations, including our allies in the South China Sea and elsewhere. It says they got a larger fleet, and so they're now deploying that fleet globally. It says we do need a larger Navy. We do need more ships in the future, more modern ships in the future, in particular, that can meet that threat. It says that the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy could be fielding up to 400 ships in the coming years, the Navy Secretary said, up from about 340 now. Keep in mind, they are already the largest Navy in the world. All of the projections of how many ships, how many Air Force jets they have, all of the, in every category, as far as tanks and APCs and military vehicles, every one of them has absolutely blown statisticians away. The stats on this, they were supposed to have 4 carriers by 2030. They have 3, and it's 2023. And they're working on 4, 5, and 6. So, I mean, like, you're talking about speeding up things so fast that statisticians even 5 years ago had no idea this was going to be the case. So how can people see this kind of buildup and not think, oh, they're doing this for a big conflict? They're not doing this so they can go into some little country. They're not doing this for Taiwan. They're doing this for a world conflict. They are doing this for world domination. I think it's pretty clear, regardless of all of the other distractions going on. I see how their system and how they run their country is slowly enveloping other countries. Look at what they're doing right now to us. We have always said about China that their facial recognition and they're tracking everybody and they have everybody a digital ID and all of this. And now they're doing that to us. And in the same way with social networks, if you don't fall in line, you stick out like a sore thumb and then they put you out and put you off of the diving board. Uh, Dex, as far as I talked about this on the Marfoogle News short, this is something that is not only alarming, it's something that I cannot believe even happened. They are hoarding supplies. They're hoarding gold. They're building up their military like we have never seen before. And they're doing it fast. Oh, and nuke silos too. They're building nukes like there's no tomorrow.
Most certainly. And, you know, the stat here, I want to say it was the Pentagon's goal is to have 350 manned ships by 2045. That's the same number that they have now, and that's 2045. I mean, that's a long way out. And they're moving at breakneck speed. Now, let's hope that maybe their expeditious building is going to equate to poor quality, but I doubt it. You know, they're getting the benefit of new technology. I mean, don't kid yourself. We have huge fleets, but those ships weren't all built today. They were built decades ago. Some of them were built today. Many of them are modern, but many of them are old. And a lot of their ships are brand new. And, you know, building a brand new ship today, you have a lot of advanced information and capability and technology that you didn't have 50 years ago to build a ship. So, you know, just keep that in mind. You know, the pace they're running at, it's amazing.
So like
It's clear what they're trying to do too. Sorry.
yeah, and you can put an advanced weapon on an older ship, right? People go, oh, well, it doesn't matter because you can put an advanced weapon on that. But that ship doesn't have the hull design or the same kind of steel used. They can't just, they can refurbish a ship and put really new lasers on it, really like a 40-year-old ship. They can do that. And yes, it will modernize the weapons on it, but it won't modernize the foundation of the ship from the inside out. Just in the last 10 years, I have covered, just in the last 5 years, they've come out with technology in the steel that they're putting into these ships. The U.S. has amazing stuff. As far as, you know, if you've seen those new modern stealth ships that are just, I mean, really futuristic looking, China has them, Russia has them, and the U.S. has them. But they have new things inside these things in the actual structure of the holes where they get hit with something. There's even technology that would bounce something back. It would explode and it absorbs it and then shoots it back. It's kind of like the technology that's on tanks, but it's built into the walls. And of course, you know, even back in the Titanic days of a ship, they made it to where, you know, they thought the Titanic was unsinkable because of how they did all of the interior. They do that same thing with ships where they, obviously for decades, they could seal off parts and keep it afloat, all of that. But now there's even more technology that goes into that and how it designs the fundamental grounds of the ship. If you're military, let me know something that you have seen in the last few years that they didn't have either when you served or when, you know, or if you're serving now, if you're current. Is there something that you were able to experience that, you know, just 10 years prior wouldn't have been around? Unfortunately, they went from way behind to out in front just in the last 10 years. And it's more like the last 6 years. And then all of a sudden, within the last 5 years, they were announced as the largest Navy. So it happened overnight. These carriers, just like the space station, remember when they said, oh, well, they're going to do their own space station? That wasn't long ago. It was like 2.5 years ago. Mind you, since then, we've covered news that they said that they had a long-term plan. But from the beginning of it, they launched and they have all 3 parts of their space station up. That space station, they said, was a weapon. Their 3 carriers, it was like we were covering 1, then it was 1, 2, then it was 2, 3. Now the 3rd's done, and they're working on 4, 5, and 6, and they're just trying to man the 3rd, and they're trying to grab pilots from all over the world. And the desperation in how they're trying to get these pilots onto this thing, it tells me that they are willing to pay whatever to get these guys on the boat because something's going on very soon. When Taiwan happens, I don't see how anybody would be caught off guard by this, but Taiwan is not it. I don't think Taiwan's going to be the last place they take. And if the U.S. is involved here, they might do something very, very big. And if that is the case, you won't be able to watch me or any of my peers to find out what's going on. I promise you, if your internet, your power, anything else goes out, you know what's going on. There's going to be many people when their power goes out and it doesn't come on for hours and their phone's out, they're still not going to figure it out. Imagine that. Like if your car stopped in the middle of the roadway, everybody else's car stops, their cell phone doesn't work, there's no power, and they still don't know what's happening. There's going to be a lot of people like that. That's what that's the downside of being in the optimist world and just saying, I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. When it does go down, they're going to look to people in this community and all of these communities. They're going to be knocking on your door because they know you prepped. This is insane how fast they are building. Look at every little part of their country. They are hoarding, they are building. It's very clear they're planning for something massive. Why would they be grabbing up all the gold, all the food, everything? I don't even think it's about sanctions. I think it's about just general war. They're going to be able to, they think they're going to be able to feed their people when we'll be down and out and power's off and everything else. So, Dex, this is exactly what we've been talking about. NATO chief sees some signs that China could back Russia's war. Literally, this is just exactly. We told you way before, and it's a B movie. It's not like people can't see this coming. But I said in the next week, we would see these things where, oh, yep, they are going to be supporting. What did you think when you saw this?
Yeah, it's another input, but just the fact that that they had the senior foreign policy official there, I think they're confirming getting Xi to meet with Putin again, which they've done a few times. I think as those events unfold, we'll see what really comes of this. Now, Xi has, in the public eye, tried to make it look like, hey, I want to foster a resolution. I'd like to see the conflict end, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, that's lip service, because behind the scenes, I think he's, it's my opinion, but I think he's probably behind the scenes helping Vlad or strategizing with him about what their next step is. Because I think this is much bigger than just, Vlad in, doing this military, event into UKR. I think it's much bigger than that, and it's something that they didn't do without coordinating with one another.
Yeah, this is they're looking at the long game and how can they turn this into something way more. If you look at what happened in 2020 and don't think that there's something going on here on a way bigger scale than what we can even imagine, I don't know what to say. I mean, everybody knows what happened there, and I can't believe people don't realize all of the fishy stuff that happened there. That was somebody with nation state money, and that would be like a Hail Mary. That's like saying this is it. Like, we're doing this. It's game. It's go time right now. To do that kind of interruption and interference. Unbelievable. So with this is, by the way, we've been talking about this since before even the first signs of it. It's like, that they're going to be helping Russia. And I even said last week, you're going to see a lot of pieces come out saying that, oh, well, yeah, we're going to verify it. They always talk about it and they say, oh, well, maybe, but they always telegraph what's going to happen next. And then they put out 10 different pieces confusing people. Russia may be running low on Iranian drones. So this is yet another piece where they're saying that they're running low on stuff. I believe most all of these are Ganda, because we have seen time and time again where they said, oh, they only have enough missiles for 2 or 3 more attacks. After 2 or 3 more attacks, 2 or 3 more attacks. And after that, they said, well, they only have enough for a couple more. And then, of course, a barrage hits, and they're like, well, it's because... well, we believe the reason why they still had some is because they didn't really pay attention to the sanctions and they were building them inside their own country. Duh. But again, now they're saying that they're running low on these drones that have been used. I don't even think they really need these things, but the thing is that these are a good way autonomously without loss of life on their side. They can go in and really screw things up. They say Russia's stock of Iranian-made drones appear to be running low, according to the latest assessments of European officials, who say that their use against UKR has fallen significantly over the past 10 days. Or maybe it's because they're using their real gear and they're not doing just the drone attacks. They're going in with their Terminator tanks and their real dudes and their jets. Remember, during the time of all of the drones that were hitting, they did not put a single jet over UKR's border. We don't know what they're actually doing now. Dex, did you think about that option, that maybe they just don't need the drones anymore, that they're doing other ways of attacking? Or
Well, I know we have tried to thwart the manufacturing of and the delivery of those drones from the iCountry. There was some certain tactics that went into place a month ago to try to curb some of that. So I don't know if that was effective. Maybe it was, and maybe that's why we're seeing this. But I think if they had them, they'd be using them. That's for sure. But at the same, the other reason they'd be using them is UKR is spending like $500,000 to take one down, because I guess they're using sidewinders or something equivalent. I know it's not a sidewinder, but the point being, they were using expensive equipment to take out, a small drone that doesn't cost a lot of money. So it would be in their best interest to fly as many of those over so that they could waste all those expensive munitions and basically drain the NATO powers from all this equipment that they have to keep sending in, or the dollars they have to keep sending in. So I think they would use them.
Wasn't it like $2,000 to make one, or $20,000, and then
it was like $2,000? Yeah, it was not a lot, and it was like $500,000 to take one down.
600,000. We looked it up. Isn't that? I mean, that's nuts. You're spending so much money to take down something that was so cheap. Oh no, it was even cheaper than that. It was like $1,000, right? It was like I remember, because it was like 100 times more or something like that. They said that they could make thousands and thousands of them for each one of the missiles that they launch up. That equivalent. If again, it's either way, it's a lot more money to knock them down than it was to produce them. In a long game, that just doesn't equal good stuff. Especially for taxpayers that are funding the damn thing. And then Putin cancels decree underpinning Moldova's sovereignty and separatist conflict. There's a lot of different things coming out now, and we'll talk about this here in just a second. Do want to remind you, though, if you don't have a backup power supply, highly recommend getting into solar generators. This is the Energy Kodiak X2. This is the easy one that you can get right now. They actually have units available that can ship out within the next few days. Again, people have been talking about how lithium right now is in incredibly high demand and in low supply. So there have been people, including myself, that had to wait months for the Flex 1500. If you do want something right now that's equivalent to a Flex 1500 with about 1 1/3 battery built in, the Kodiak X2 is your unit. This is a good portable unit. It can hook up to solar panels. In fact, most of the packages you can get will come with a number of panels. You can get like 1, 2, or 4. These packages you'll end up saving 10% on, and you end up helping our channel at the same time. Why you would go with this is it is one of the best built and most reliable units out there. As far as the Kodiak X2 is an all built-in one, but it can also be expanded to 2 units or dual linked, so you can actually double the capacity and double the output. So if you say whatever the max output is, you can actually double that by hooking up another Kodiak X2. But I highly recommend, if you are going for a more permanent setup, go for the Flex 1500. The weight is worth it. If you're worried about it, want to get it this right away, go get the Kodiak X2. But if you really want a long-term system that can be modded, that can be changed, that can be altered, and that has expandability options, this can be expanded up to 96 batteries. So essentially, you could make an entire wall of your house into batteries if you want. And you can actually get these batteries or a brand new head unit. When a new one comes out, you can mod it, you can change it. You can get them over time. So you can build up a formidable system while at the same time trying to be easier on the pocketbook because you can do it over time. This system is silent. There is virtually no sound that comes out of it, which means you can go stealth. It is definitely a powerhouse as far as the modular capabilities, and you get power from the sun, which again is a lot cheaper. It's absolutely free compared to $5 a gallon gas, which then you will have to also figure out how you're going to store that gas. Now, if you have a property somewhere you're going to bug in, and you've got areas to store gas, gas is also a very powerful tool, and most people recommend having one of each or both because they both have their different pros and cons. Again, make sure to go check this out, marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle. I absolutely 100% think this is one of the best things you could do for yourself out of all the things you can get for survival. This can come in handy just during daily life. If you lose your power to a storm, earthquake, tornado, hurricane, whatever it may be, these come in clutch. Not only that, you can use them for work. You can plug in a drill to them. You can take them with you camping and power a TV out in the woods. You can tailgate with it. You can do whatever. So these are really cool. And one of the best parts is now they can be turned into a UPS system. The Kodiak X2 is already a UPS system, an uninterrupted power supply. This one now has a new Flex UPS rapid charger that now turns it into an uninterrupted power supply. So it basically switches over immediately. And it all fits in like Lego. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. Thank you guys for your support. So this is another sign that there are plans beyond UKR. So with Ukraine, it looks like, his speeches, and if you go outside the United States, outside of this, everyone is saying that this is going to be more than just Ukraine, and that he's not going to quit until all of UKR is taken over. And now they're even talking about all of the Baltic states. So some of the stuff that was said was correct, in my opinion. Dex, do you want to talk about how he revoked a decree? Now, he also could be doing this because he's not happy about Moldova kind of buddying up with the U.S.
Yeah, this is part of a series. Am I Roboto?
Not anymore. You're good.
Of what they were saying are his anti-Western moves that he announced on Tuesday. So in this particular one, they had this decree with Moldova, and it was based on the assumption that they would have better EU relations through them. And keep in mind, they also have this location that's in the middle of Moldova that is still considered, Vlad's territory. So we've got that. I think it's called the Transnistria area or something like that. But by this is kind of ceremonial in the sense that he's tearing up the decree. I don't know that it necessarily changed instantly, but it's certainly a sign. It's certainly saying, hey, we don't like what you're doing. The relationship we had with you used to be good, and it's no longer. And it's because Moldova has aligned quite a bit here lately with the West, and even their current leader is aligning more with the West. So the leadership changes that have happened there, and the actions and the statements that have come out of the country all seem to be pro West and not pro Russia. So therefore, he is putting them in the proper place in his mind, if you want to call it that.
So he's basically saying you're not going to have us. You're not going to have us on your side, which also goes along with what is happening with this other document that is possibly leaked about the whole absorption of Belarus by 2030, which we covered yesterday. Make sure to go check that show out. And then, of course, Putin's chef leaks grisly photo in public betrayal of the Kremlin. It says, if there were ever a time for the Kremlin to worry about an uprising by its most out-of-control private army, now would appear to be it. Wagner Group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin has gone from accusing the Russian military of treason to flooding the internet with gruesome photos of the country's conflicts perished. It says, who is to blame for them perishing? Those who should have resolved the issue of supplying us with sufficient quantities of ammunition are to blame. Prigozhin said Wednesday that the comments to a pro-conflict Telegram channel singling out Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and the Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov. It says a day earlier he accused both of trying to destroy the Wagner Group by deliberately choking off their ammunition supply. To drive this point home, on Wednesday he released a photo showing rows upon rows of maimed corpses that he said were Wagner fighters trying to take and keep the Kremlin's grip on UKR. It says no steps have been taken to issue ammunition. I am posting a photo below. This is one of the gathering points for the perished. These are the guys who perished yesterday due to ammunition hunger. Ammunition hunger. I haven't heard that one. There should have been 5 times less of them. Wagner, like a beggar crowdfunding, is asking unit commanders to help in some way. We will not leave Bakhmut. We will just perish twice as much as we already have until everyone's gone. And when the Wagnerites run out, then most likely Shoigu and Gerasimov will have to take up machine guns, he said. This is so weird. This whole, for months now, even like Vlad, when Prigozhin said, oh, we're victorious and we took this area, wasn't it Bakhmut? Anyways, they basically said that they virtually took over an area, and then Russia itself said, no, they actually didn't, and like made them look like idiots. What is happening with this whole thing? It just seems weird. And I know that now Dex, Wagner Group is separate. Isn't that a different group than the defense minister Shoigu? Doesn't he have his own private military?
Yeah, there's multiples, but this is the big one. And Prigozhin was rising up in popularity. He had been stated that he was rising up in popularity even in the political spectrum. And some were even suggesting, and we reported this, that he was even a potential to replace Putin should Putin ever, resign, perish, whatever, right? And I think it was clear because right about the time that all of that was coming out, then he made the statement that he claimed that territory prematurely, or at least according to the Kremlin, it was premature. And they came out and said, no, he didn't. And then from that point on, you have seen this battle, this internal struggle between Prigozhin and the Kremlin, or more specifically, probably Putin, because of what's been because of that. And I don't know if Putin feels threatened by him, if he just doesn't like him acting out of place. Maybe he's not, standing in line as Putin might want him to be.
Well, that's why I pointed out.
It's clear. It is clear there's a rift between these two, and he is, he is almost acting rogue.
Well, that's why I pointed out. Is there the reason why it seems like it's like you would think the Russian government is the one who's paying them, right? How would they go against the hand that's feeding them? But that's why I pointed out Shoigu. If they, is this because Shoigu is causing a rift somehow in ways that we can't see? Because Shoigu has his own private military. Are they competitors, or do they, are they all on the same page? Like this Prigozhin guy, you would think you just wouldn't use it. Do they have to use him because they don't have enough troops? They're painting a picture here that just doesn't really make sense. I get that if Prigozhin is a war hero and then all of a sudden want to be president, but we know it's all RIGGED over there anyways. If Vlad wants to stay in power, he's already made all of the changes so he could do that. I don't know. It seems like even over there they have multiple elite powers struggling. We always think of Russia as like just Putin and he's the top. But there's got to be oligarchs over there that are running things, and global oligarchs that are above Russia. Like I pointed out the other day, it's like during the civil conflict, during World War I, during World War II, there were families that financially supported both sides. They would send a cannon to this side. They would send 2 cannons to this side. They would literally fund both sides and give weapons to both sides so they could take each other out. And they would bet on both sides, whoever won, they won. And the same thing is happening here, I think. It's like there's got to be somebody above that's screwing with all these things. But yeah, I wonder what the size comparison is between Shogu's and theirs. That's so weird that the Ministry of Defense has a private military that's totally separate and off the books. That's like if our who is our Minister of Defense? Who's the equivalent to Shogu? Do you know who that would be in the U.S. terms?
That's probably Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense, right?
Think about that. Think about Lloyd Austin having a private military. Like that's nuts. And then it's hard, but they're holding on the ground in UKR. The war depends on U.S. weapons. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
Well, this sort of states the obvious, at least the obvious that we've been saying. But it goes through, it's a very pro UKR position. But the main point is in this message is that they're not doing it on their own, and they can't survive without the weaponry, without the support, without the financing, and eventually that runs out. That can't last forever. And how long, who's going to last the longest, right? Who's going to hold out to the end, and claim victory, or will they actually come to a negotiating point at some point and say, okay, we both spent enough, we both lost enough, let's call it quits. But right now they're saying UKR is holding the line, et cetera, and all the pushes that they've made and the advancements that they've made here and there, and the losses, like you just heard from the Wagner Knights, losing 5x what they should, probably not because UKR is strong, probably because there's an internal rift and somebody decided not to send them ammo and left them hanging, which just doesn't make any sense either. But that all of that said is UKR. It's game over without the U.S. It really is.
Yeah, and pretty much everybody agrees. Like without NATO support and without all of these things, it would have already been over. There's no way with their backwards all of the stuff that they had at the beginning, there would have been no winning. Even the conscripts would have taken them out. Maybe that's what they thought. Maybe Russia thought that with private militaries and with the conscripts, the people they pulled off the street, that they could have taken the whole country without ever using any of their real military. But then, of course, NATO jumped in. But that would be assuming that this isn't all planned and that's not orchestrated. It could be either way. Well, we don't know what's really going on. They're lying about everything. Able Bodied pointed out, it says Wagner is just like Blackwater. Oh yeah, they're all corrupt. They're all partying, mercenary, rogue, solo dudes that get paid a ton of money to do what they're good at. I'm sure they do a lot of horrible things too. And then when they do, the military is not responsible for it. A missile system was spotted nearby as Putin spoke for just 4 minutes in Moscow, showing how the Russian city is becoming a wartime capital. Go ahead, Dex. Did you have a comment on the last one?
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick note. Lloyd Austin was on the directors of Raytheon, and Raytheon is one of the U.S. companies that has potential. It's considered a private military contractor. So even though I know we think of them as a manufacturer. So
yeah,
anyway,
but
I just wanted to draw that correlation that, as much as, we laugh that Shogu, now mind you, Shogu is actually sitting in the political position while managing a private military, two totally different scenarios, where the other was in a position, left the position, went back into, the political realm, but they're all interconnected. They all have their connections everywhere.
Well, like what was pointed out with Project V, right? Mr. James, who recently got pushed out. the video that they covered about how the military industrial complex is a lot like the other complex that now has taken over since 2019, where all of these folks kind of just go from one job to the next. And the reason why it's messed up is, so say if you are on, if you are a politician that's going to make laws that would affect somebody like Raytheon, well, if you know you are absolutely going to leave your position and go to a thing like that, in this case, Lloyd Austin went from Raytheon to this, but they go back and forth. If you knew that right when you were done, and if you treat this company good, they're going to give you a 8-figure freaking salary per year as a CEO or something like that, then you're going to help them in whatever they need to do, whatever laws, even if it affects people, you're going to do that because then you're going to go work for them. At least that's how it's been working. And these guys are all on the different boards and they all just kind of rotate around and they keep the same people and the chosen ones in power. Raytheon probably has investment or blah, blah, blah. All these different companies have investment in Blackwater or whatever Blackwater's called now because I think they changed their name. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So Lloyd Austin actually could be, part or know the people that are actually running this thing. But I just think of when you look at like John Kirby and Lloyd Austin and the other guy that they always talk about in all the conflict times, it's like I just don't see them running militaries. And then a missile system was spotted nearby as Putin spoke for just 4 minutes in Moscow, showing how the Russian city is becoming a wartime capital. This I have seen outside the coverage that is global. They are setting up Russia like a warfield. They have SAM missiles on the roofs. They have checkpoints. They're talking about putting in alert stations and things. They're not even talking about it. They're doing it. This might actually back up the theory that they might at some point declare martial conflict. The fact that they're putting in these alert stations right around the rumored possible martial law that they said that they might declare, that's kind of spooky. That general SVR has been more true than not. And of course, the general SVR, that stands for essentially the equivalent of their version, Russia's version of CIA. And they said that group had somebody in there that was in a meeting on January 9th or before that said on the 18th, on January 18th, that a mobilization would start. For the first 2 weeks, it would be covert, that there was possibly going to be a martial law declared in Russia, that there would be a big event. It was a vague, big event happening around the anniversary of the conflict, and that they were even going to be doing exercises to evacuate leadership, Russian leadership, out. And I believe that plan is called Noah's Ark. We saw that leak shortly before that. And there was a mobilization, and it did start on the 18th, and several things have happened. So I don't know if they purposely put that out so they would let people know the plan or the show, whatever this is. But more of that has been true than not. And that's really creepy because of what else is in that same post. It's very spooky. They're setting up alert stations around the country, and some say they're setting up checkpoints, military checkpoints. And what's funny is during all of this, people are supporting it. Let's see here. And then it says Russian news media site Meduza reported that the Panzer missile system was installed outside Moscow's Luzhniki Stadium, where thousands had gathered, and some had been paid to hear Vlad speak on Wednesday. These types of missile systems are intended to prevent aircraft, cruise missiles, and drones from striking Moscow, according to The Guardian. It makes sense if they would set up something like this if wherever the president's going to be, because there could, if he is paranoid about the U.S. or somebody else taking him out, you would think that they could hit him at a very public place like that. That would be pretty screwed up. Thousands of people watching, but it's happened before. It says no Russian cities have been attacked so far in the conflict with UKR, but Russian forces have launched missiles and shelled UKR towns. that's kind of Dex. It's kind of crazy that they say that no Russian cities have been attacked. There's been Russian bases, though, right? So they
Correct.
Can they not? Can they even technically say that no Russian cities? I guess Russian bases have been attacked, but not regular Russian cities, like civilian towns. I wonder if that will change.
That's a great question. It certainly ups the ante. Making a statement like that, but we have seen the reach not very far, but enough and close enough to even potentially scare Moscow at Angles Air Force Base, I believe it was, where one of the drones made it to, but it didn't hit. It was shot down in the sky and then hit and injured people. At least that's what they claimed. I mean, who knows? It could have hit and they just wanted to cover it up that way.
Yeah, we'll see and we'll follow it. By the way, Beer Juice, thank you so much for the Ninja Guinea. Gonna have a snow day tomorrow. Oh, where are you at that you guys get snow? I guess there's a lot of places that are very cold right now. Thank you again for the Ninja Guinea, and then thank you also for the diamond. How many H2O contaminated cities make a third world? Says the outlaw Josie Wales. I don't know. And then Michelle K, thank you so much. And yeah, very creepy comment. They're saying that conflict starts tomorrow. Is that what you're saying? Hot Sauce Jaws, thank you for being here. Cognitable, thank you for the support. I went to the store for lemons. Yobi, just in time. Hello, Marf, Dex, and Mods and fam. Big Hair Tsunami, thank you for gifting out badges to Laura Griffith, and thank you for gifting one to Light of Vibes. Big Hair Tsunami, thank you for the support. Thank you for gifting one to Fractured Fusion and Hot Sauce Jaws. Fractured Fusion, thank you for being here. J Rockin, 100% Mo, Gambera, Scottish Stevie, a lot of really great people in D-Live right now. Thank your mods, of course, Chance, Jammer, and April. And thank your mods over on YouTube. You can actually thank them by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends and going and subscribing. I know a lot of you guys don't end up going over here right away, but please go do so. Again, these guys are awesome. Make sure to go check out. There's a whole great list of mods here that have great channels. Again, Ilea, great channel. She's doing a lot of really great stuff. Trinity puts so much editing into her videos. She puts a lot of work. Wages World is constantly covering all of the solar events. And again, he is closing in on 60,000 subscribers, so make sure to go help him out. And then, of course, CJ Blaze, great channel over on Brighteon. And then, of course, Chance has books over on Amazon. Bones has a TikTok and a Twitter you should go check out. And then, of course, Lisa R. Hall is just an amazing person. And, again, thank you for all the prayers for her daughter. Rip Curl, very smart man. All great people, so make sure to go check them out. All right, and then poll reveals Russian support for Putin has gone up sharply in all areas over the past year. Like I said, you see it in their actual social media. People are really, I guess they're charmed by him. The fact that, like I said the other day, a lot of people say that he has this very personal approach to how he even goes out in public. He might have missiles protecting from jets, but then at that same event where they know he's paranoid about this stuff, he doesn't let the public know when he's there. He will shake hands. He'll go up to people. He'll go up to Russians and hug them and all sorts of crazy stuff. There's so many clips of him basically going right past where he should be as a president, touching and going the extra mile, talking to people. Not saying he's a great guy, but he definitely, he does it so people have this kind of personal attachment to him. He also talks like a regular person when he does these things. He says, "Oh, this guy's full of crap," and he'll say that. A lot of people say that that's the strength of, not acting like a politician. People, we don't relate to politicians. Politicians and their legal speak and all of that, and lawyers and things like that. People just don't relate to that. They relate to normal people, talking to them like a normal person. As far as somebody, putting their thumb up and doing all this, like we're done with that. We're sick of it. I guarantee you, Russians, they're human beings. They probably are too. But his speeches over the last year, this is what's scary, though. If they are convinced of this, if you look at what they're telling their people, they're saying that the West are Nazis and that we need to be basically destroyed. So when you have a whole country behind that, that's not a good thing. It says that Moscow pollsters have noticed significant growth in all the main indicators characterizing Russians' attitudes towards President Vlad. Mind you, they're saying that he's mad Vlad, he's this over here, but over there, they're calling for a war. They're saying these guys are, because look at what they're telling their people. They're saying that we lied about all this stuff, we did this, we did that. And to be honest, if you look on both sides have lied. And both sides have done a lot of really messed up stuff and a bunch of propaganda. But one thing that Russia's really good at, same with UKR, because they all learned at the same school, is Ganda. They are very good at it. So this is not a good thing to have people supporting this so hardcore. Dex, are you surprised by this? I mean, this is what we've been telling people, and this is exactly what I was saying over the last week, but nobody was covering. It seems like we cover something, and a week later it's like people go out and start chatting about it on media, and then people finally cover it in Western countries.
Yeah, well, this is a poll, obviously, in their country. So, and it was probably conducted inside their country as well. So, I'm sure there's some controls and constraints over it that they may have, but at the same time, I think the point being is that, for as much mad Vlad as we get around here on the Western side, there is a lot more support than we think there is in his own country.
I mean, you see it there. It's just not. It's kind of like, it's how we, but what's crazy is, meanwhile, a good chunk, or at least half of our country that doesn't like our leadership, you have, of course, a place like this in full support of it. If more of the country is on the same page, that makes for a stronger country. Meanwhile, something has happened to our country where there's this artificial divide, and just in the last decade, all of a sudden, you can't talk to anybody who has an opposite view of yourself. People are literally dividing. If you know what divide and conquer is, it's not a cliche, it's a reality now. You used to be able to go, have a beer with somebody if they were left, right, whatever. Even if they were on the far other end of the spectrum, you'd go, I voted for this guy. Oh, I voted for that guy. Oh, you suck. Ha. And then the conversation continued. Now it's like, oh, you voted for him? I'm leaving, and I'm never talking to you again. I'm blocking you on all social media platforms, and I am going to kill the bird you gave me over Christmas at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. That was very specific, Adam. If you haven't already, make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get freeze-dried, Mylar-sealed, 25-year shelf life food that will last until 2052. In fact, it will actually last longer than that, but that's the best buy. That's the best used buy, right? So in 25 years from now, you will have some food left that you can eat. Again, this is, as far as freeze-dried food has gone up, it's actually tripled in just the last 3 years. If you ended up getting something like this now to have your stocks, taken care of, in 3 years from now, if it does triple again, you'll already have 3 months of food, and you won't have to pay 3 times the price, and you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf. That's why people will get freeze-dried. It lasts a very long time. When you add the water back, because it takes all the moisture out but not a lot of the flavor, when you add that hot water back in, it brings it back to life, and you have most of the flavor, and you have yourself a hearty meal. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Highly recommend also looking into their actual meat, the meat bucket or the meat set. That complements the 3-month really, really well. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. It helps support us. At the same time, you will get yourself backed up. There is now $200 worth of free gear You get a whole lot of really awesome stuff. Basically, a kind of a mini go bag of all sorts of different tools and things, and different really awesome survival gear. And that is with our link. So make sure that's an exclusive thing you get for the marfooglenews.com/prep link. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about the new NASA images reveal grim state of China's Mars rover?
So they put the rover to sleep. I think it was in a little less than a year ago. It was in hibernation mode, and it was supposed to wake up in December. And they don't really tell us what's going on. Every now and then they may put out their own information if they find something or they want to share something publicly. But we have observed through our satellites that it hasn't moved. So there's 3 pictures here of the same location. The first picture where it's not there, and the next 2 pictures showing where it is. And the images were taken on March 11th, 2022, before it was there, September 8th, when it was there. And then the most recent one was February 7th. It's still there. So if it was supposed to get out of hibernation in December and start roving again, it has not. And so the speculation is they're probably having a problem with their rover, and it's not working.
Or maybe because Mars fell out of the sky and landed on the beach, and we're in the Truman Show. Who knows? But yeah, so something's not right there, or they forgot to update the pictures there. All right, let's see. And again, that was from a different satellite. So let's see. By the way, thank you, Cultured Hillbilly. Get to that in a second. Thanks to the boys and the mods for the rest of the Motherfooglers, says Stephen McMahon. Thank you, Stephen. And then Neil Nelson, thank you for the super sticker. Zenwene Z, thank you for, again, thank you for always doing your heart emojis. It's kind of your signature now. And then Samson Grinder says, U.S. has been sold out, infiltrated from within. Chemical spills, food production, and energy under attack every day. The softening is here. Get ready. Samson, couldn't have put it better myself. Carol McLean, thank you for the super sticker as well. Ray the Way says, future and new doesn't mean good. For example, the Concorde supersonic jet. For the time, it was cutting edge. Then it became unnecessary. But never underestimate the enemy. Well, Ray the Way, the point I have made too is that the older gear, they're actually pulling planes and things out of the museum because they believe enemies, like NK, for example, has a bunch of old stuff. If you're using old technology against, or new technology against old technology, it might not work on the old technology. EMPs won't affect, or the air-to-air EMP stuff that they have now, these missiles that do an EMP and blast jets, that wouldn't work on an old jet. So, or the submarine stuff. On the old school submarines, their new tech doesn't detect it. There was all sorts of weird things like this that have popped up over the last couple of years. So they're taking things out of museums and refurbishing them because the old tech is actually a more stealth than the new tech in some ways, and is more resilient because it doesn't have all of this technological stuff in it. So I think that's a great point. And then the Cultured Hillbilly, I ran to the store getting even for Stuxnet virus. Yeah, well, so they've got something to get even for. You have to think those two countries are in a conflict that will never end. They fundamentally absolutely think the other one should not exist forever, and nothing's going to mediate that. So that is a religious conflict that's gone on for ever. We are all in the path of things to come, says Shay Watson. Thank you for your support, Shay, and thank you for being here. Ray the Way, many farmers are reporting trains stopping outside their farms. Huh, weird, Ray. And then Jeff Crawford, thank you for the super sticker. And then Kimmer's IMJ says, better start believing in Bible stories. You're living in one. Jesus is coming. Love you and appreciate you so much, Adam, Dex, and Fugel family. By the way, I just watched, that reminds me. If anybody has seen that new movie out by M. Night Shyamalan, Knock at the Cabin, what a spooky movie that was. what did you think of it? If you have seen it, it's a brand new one. You have to like get early access thing or whatever to it. Shannon BOD actually told me about it. They saw it in theaters, I think, but I was able to get it on demand. But man, that thing, I was waiting for that because it shows the end of the world and it has an interesting theory. So if I don't want to do any spoilers, but you'll have to watch that. Very crazy. But it did make me think, what if we are living, we are living through end times, but what if we are seeing the four horsemen like now? And then wouldn't be surprised if President gave Zelensky Air Force 2. Okay, I did get to that. All right, and then we're going there. On a lighter note, highly intelligent and possibly invincible super pigs are invading America. So don't worry about the UFOs or the octagon objects. You better watch about Porky, because Porky might kick your butt and beat you at chess. By the way, this picture is so absolutely creepy. And that's a real picture. Pigs are so incredibly smart. A hybrid breed of super pigs, a mix of domestic pig and a wild boar, is running wild in Canada, and now they have their sights on the United States. Originally crossbred to help farmed pigs grow larger and tolerate the cold temperatures of Canada, a drop in the market about 2 decades ago led some farmers to let their hybrid pigs run free. It says now they're running very free. According to Field and Stream, the super pigs are coming south, likely heading to Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota and Michigan. Weird that all of these states that are normally never mentioned are all of a sudden in all sorts of news. The problem, the super pigs are proving hard to eradicate. That they can survive in such cold climate is one of the big surprises of this issue. Leader of the University of Saskatchewan's Canadian Wild Pig Research Project tells Field and Stream, the cold hardiness of the hybrid pigs means they survive well. That means other native species don't. It says the super pigs have already traversed across international border, dipping into at least North Dakota, so expect even greater occurrence as the hybrid population only grows. Like on public transit, if you see something, say something. The squeal on pigs' websites makes even that easier. The super pigs have become adept at fending off recreational hunters, sometimes with entire sounders, the term for a group of pigs generally led by mature sows, turning nocturnal and avoid the hunting. Other times the sounders will disperse, making them harder to locate or change their patterns and retreat to forests and wetlands. The best strategy at reining in the super pigs has been employing the Judas pig concept, which straps a GPS collar onto a pig, led game officials to other pigs. Deception may be your only hope. So this is pretty funny, but at the same time, these are incredibly smart. The things that they are doing to avoid people, it kind of makes you double think about even eating bacon. These things are incredibly smart, and these ones are even smarter than normal pigs. Domestic pigs are very smart. Dex, would you say that pigs are smarter than dogs? I would say...
I don't know if I'm qualified to say that, but maybe. Miss Piggy was pretty smart. She could talk.
Yeah, but come on. That she's East Coast girl, and that doesn't count. But again, with these pigs, I just wonder what's going to come next. Watch, they'll say that they have created some sort of virus or something from them, and these super pigs will be running into town. Who knows? It's now 2023. Anything goes. Let's see here. And so, in summation, by the way, if you look at what is going on, if you sum up kind of the all of the stories of today, you can see the paperwork is there. You can see that they are lining up. Russia is lining up to go beyond UKR, and it looks like that may actually be the truth. What do you think about that, though? Prove that wrong to me. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Do you think that this is about to get a whole lot bigger and escalate? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It looks like everything is lining up, and it's happening very fast. So make sure to leave your comments down below. Make sure to share this out. You are the only way this gets out. It does not get pushed in the algorithm. It's, again, it's like a do not amplify has been stamped on us or something. So please make sure to share this on all of your social media platforms and let us know too. If you try to share and something weird happens, let us know. And then Dex, let's go over the web only content. We have a lot of it and see where that's going.
Head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the description on YouTube and Rumble and click on that show notes link. It'll take you right here. You can get to the page with all the news we just covered and then some. And the then some is after that yellow bar. Lots of updates going on. Apparently, the saga with T-Man and Georgia and the potential charges is up in the air because the jury foreperson is going on a press tour. Well, we'll see. We'll see what changes with that. So if you want to know what's happening there, that's covered. There's definitely some additional T-Man stuff in the sense of his visit to Ohio that happened. That went down today. Then there's the rest of the political stuff going on between the rest of the potential candidates, or some people are suggesting one of them is going to run, and what they're talking about. So that political spectrum there is covered. The Supreme Court today was hearing the other part of the story we talked about yesterday. And some are suggesting, as we suggested last night, that through their confusion, it might be that Section 230 is going to not get changed, because some of the commentaries had suggested that they were saying maybe Congress should deal with this, not us. We're not the smartest internet people. We're just lawyers, or we're just legal people. So I don't know if they're really going to take a position on it. We'll have to wait and see what the actual outcome of that is. But that was the secondary coverage for today on that. That's on the website. Gilly Bates is, of course, jet setting around the world to tell people how bad it is to jet set around the world. So if you want to know about that, we do have additional updates of what's going on with the UKR event, what's going on with Vlad, with Wagner, with G, and all of that, including some of the stuff we talked about yesterday. We've got it in there just because it's still current and there's not new information, but new publications about it. I guess we were way ahead of the stories on a lot of these. So that's continued in there. Lithuania in the news. And by the way, apparently there is a Black Hawk helicopter now in UKR, a US made one. It looks by those that were doing the investigations around the photos of it that were revealed, that it was from a private company that refurbishes them, buys them from the military, and resells them to other people. So it doesn't look like it's one that we gave them. I don't think we've given them any Black Hawks, but in this case, they may have acquired one. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on that thumbnail for the show, and get the rest of the story. It's all there. Everything I talked about, plus more. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, open up that description. All the links you've ever looking for are right there in the description. They're easy to get to, but the show notes link right there at the top takes you to this page. It's so simple.
Thank you, Dex. I appreciate your service today. Thank you, mods. And then Dex, great job today. I will see you tomorrow.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, we're going to do a short outro. I do have a couple of people to thank, and then also mods. If you guys want to hang out afterwards, I will be popping in. So thank you guys. I love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Everybody gonna be arrested. Overly, they ready. Bring it from the back with my ass in the world, getting real messy. Bring it on the low, bring it on the high, the low. Bring it on the high, bring it on the low, bring it on the high, the low. Bring it on the high, bring it on the low, bring it on the high, the low. Bum bum Everybody gonna be arrested. Hopefully they're ready. Let's bring it on the back with my essay. In the world getting real messy. I'm on the back with the essay. On the it's right. I said Jake Matthew on Penfield. I'm up in search. I said Adam in it is boiling. I'm just 7. I'm boy on the back with a banter. I boomed on the back with a 9. And I'm son. I said daddy wanna sing on the west side. I really won't bring it. I wait the ready on the Newman and Carmine. But I said oh not you die Iris. I said where I say mama la mama leva. I'm on the breeze. I love it. I said Willie on the Willie way. And everybody, I was in the out. I said, oh, everything on the way. I wait. I said, Michael on the Jones is now. I'm ready. Kelly and the beam and see. I said, the bone you wear. I said, the blanket I did, I miss it. But Sean Samuel. I say, wound on the back on the weekday. I say, wait. Pogo with a logo 43. I said, no way. I wet you in the pogo on the way. I said, cat lady. I said, Lord and Joanna with the wood say. On the BJ water. I said, Marvy on the law on the Murphy. On the Murphy's law. I said, Lisa, I all in the wall. I bring it y'all. Being on the back with my head say, going down. Everybody gonna be arrested. Hopefully they're ready. Let's bring it on the back with my essay. In the world getting real messy. Bring it on the high, bring it on the low, bring it on the I don't know. Bring it on the high, bring it on the low, bring it on the I don't know. Mong on the Saja on the board now. I say the Lisa on the hall on the wood now. I say the black sheep on the Trinity. With you on the west with the whiskey. I say way with the wolves on the 55. With the fadeaway on the Debra. The night I do know. I say Davy on the Osa. I'm bringing mimosa. I say low on the back around the woo. I go, now say on my back on the way. I said way, I know go waka Harley. I bring you with say.
Have a good night. We will see you in a second. Again, thank you for somebody saying, is it a very short show? We started at 5 today. One more for the top supporters. Thank you so much.
Bring it down, do it back, around the gun, look.
On the back, around. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Who'll be on the pandemic? Who'll be on the pandemic? Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. I'm a bag with the red away. I said on the bag, then on the way. I said a night, rainy day. Oh, dear, be like, oh. Even if you left that way, I'd still love you like yesterday. I was on my way